I never imagined that a lie could destroy a life. The accusation came out of nowhere, a stain on my reputation. No one believed in my innocence, not even those who had known me since childhood. Loneliness became my only companion, a deep and dark abyss. Years passed, a blur of gray days and sleepless nights. With each new dawn, the hope that this was all just a cruel nightmare faded away. Then, after almost a decade of silence, a message arrived from my mother. It was a message of apology, an admission of error, and an offer of reconciliation. What could have happened for her to finally recognize her mistake? And most importantly, would I be able to forgive her and start over?
Welcome to our channel.
Hello, I'm Lucas. A decade ago, my life took a devastating turn. I was raised in a family that, although not perfect, was my safe haven. My parents worked a lot, but they still managed to take care of me and my sisters. We were never super close, but there was never any issue. The same went for my extended family. They always lived a few hours away, but we saw each other during the summer, holidays, or Christmas, and everything was always fine. When I was 22, and in college, an unexpected phone call from my mom pulled me out of the normalcy of my student life and threw me into a whirlwind of emotions. There was chaos on the other end of the line, like people were arguing. I asked what was happening. Amidst choked sobs, my mom was speaking in a confused manner. She basically asked me if I had anything to confess about Helen, my cousin on my mother's side, 7 years younger than me, 15 at the time. I simply said, I haven't seen Helen in years, and I asked what this was all about, why she was asking. My mom cried even harder and told me that my cousin had made shocking accusations against me. It hit me like a punch in the gut, and I was unable to articulate anything beyond my own denial, paralyzed by the magnitude of what I was hearing. I never imagined that my own cousin could cast such a shadow over my existence. The accusations of child abuse thrown against me by my own cousin were like an atomic bomb in my life. I could hardly believe something so heinous was being said about me, and even more shocking was the swift condemnation of his own family. In a matter of moments, I found myself stripped of my family, which was my support and my identity. She had said that when she was 9 and I was 16, she was playing in my room when I came in and I started feeling her under her clothes and kissing her. My mom yelled at me a lot, and I couldn't even speak. I remember thinking, this must be some kind of bad joke. My mom kept saying that Helen gave such a detailed description of where and how everything happened. She kept asking, how could you do this? How could you do this? And I just kept shouting back, it's not true, she's lying. It all ended with my mom putting me on speakerphone, and both my mom and dad saying they didn't want anything to do with me and that I should never contact them again. After that call, I took a long shower. Later that same day, my sisters texted me, calling me disgusting, and then they blocked me. Some relatives also sent messages of contempt. Once I calmed down, I started calling and texting everyone, but no one answered, not even the ones who hadn't blocked my number. The isolation that followed was agonizing. The cold rejection from my parents and sisters, the hateful messages from relatives, and the pain of being seen as a monster by everyone I loved were an unbearable weight on my shoulders. The days following the revelation were shrouded in a fog of despair and anger. The mental and emotional torment that followed was unfathomable. I wrestled with feelings of injustice, helplessness, and a rage that threatened to consume me. The whirlwind of emotions dragged me into an abyss of depression, anger, and resentment. The nights were long and lonely, and my days were consumed by dark thoughts and plans I dare not confess. For a year, I waited for the police to knock on my door, coming to arrest me for a crime I never committed. All of this happened shortly before I defended my bachelor's thesis, and I was already stressed out. Luckily, my co-writer noticed something was going on and saved me. Needless to say, no one came to my graduation. My life was in ruins, my relationships crumbling, and what remained was an empty shadow of the man I used to be. I struggled to find work, to stay afloat financially, and to find a glimmer of hope in the midst of the darkness. However, even in the darkest times, a faint light of hope shone through. A college friend, noticing my suffering, reached out and pulled me back from the edge of the abyss. With this friend's help, I got my first real job in my field. Only then did things start to improve, and I poured all my time into my work. I found a renewed sense of purpose in my job. I clung to it, using it as a lifeline amidst the waves of despair. As the months passed, I found comfort in small pleasures, like treating myself to a nice gift on my birthdays. I bought a little house. It had been a long-time dream, complete with a garage and a garden to take care of. That pushed me further, and my life is better now. Slowly, I'm rebuilding my world. Today, I'm 31 years old. Almost 10 years have passed, but the shadow of the past remains. I've taken antidepressants over the years, and I'm still in therapy. Then, after nearly a decade of silence, a message from my mom arrived. It was an apology, an admission of error, and an offer of reconciliation. When the message came, I was afraid to open it. I stared at the notification for hours. Words of longing and love were accompanied by the revelation that the accusations were false, a misunderstanding turned into truth by a confused child. The family, now aware of the mistake, was reaching out in search of forgiveness and reconciliation. My mom wrote me again, saying that during a recent family gathering, the topic came up, and Helen finally admitted that nothing happened and that she probably just dreamed it. She said they were all shocked and angry with her. She also wants me to meet my sister's families. I faced the dilemma of whether or not to forgive. I struggled with the idea of opening my heart to those who had hurt me so deeply. However, a persistent desire for peace and a glimmer of hope for the future pushed me forward. I called my therapist, but the clinic told me she was on vacation and wouldn't be available for weeks. About a week after my family sent me their messages, Helen also sent one with a long apology. When I received it, I couldn't believe it. She was talking about how she had mental health issues and had been dealing with them for years, almost as if it was an excuse to explain why she did this. She said she needed help and that her parents were helping her get it. That pushed me to my limit, and I had to respond to Helen. I ended up sending her, "You think your mental health problems are bad? Try being ripped away and excommunicated from your entire family for 10 years when you're just starting your adult life. And see how many mental health issues that creates. I'm still trying to deal with all of this, and the last thing I need is the person responsible for my misery giving me excuses about why it happened. The rest of my relatives might have been in the dark, but you knew all along and it never occurred to you to tell the truth sooner? My parents and sisters might be another story, but I will never be able to forgive you for the irreversible damage you've done to me. Please rot in hell and never contact me again."
There are invisible scars that shape lives. Abuse steals your peace, but not your strength. Breaking the Cycle of Abuse is an interactive guide where you'll find powerful tools to identify the signs of abuse, understand the dynamics of violence, find shelter and legal and psychological support, plan a safe exit from a harmful environment, overcome trauma and rebuild your self-esteem. Start your journey of healing and transformation now for just $9.60.
She didn't reply, but I can see that she received the message. I responded to my parents' message, and slowly, a bridge began to form between us. We agreed that a phone call seemed like the best way to start. It was strange to hear my parents' voices again. I used to associate those voices with feeling safe at home, but after what happened, it was an entirely new sensation. At the beginning of the conversation, I hated it. All the bitter memories came flooding back. My mind went straight back to the day we last spoke, voices shouting and accusing me of things I didn't even do. The conversation lasted about 3 hours. Although it was hard for me, and probably for them too, it was the most productive talk we'd ever had. They apologized a million times and told me everything they'd been going through. One of the hardest parts was when I asked why they didn't listen to me or believe their own son. They told me that Helen made everything sound so believable that they felt like they had no choice. I told them that instead of just cutting me off, they should have at least tried to help me. They said they knew that, and that was the hardest part for them. After a year or two, they said they wanted to reach out to me but figured, knowing me, I wouldn't talk to them. That upset me a bit. It doesn't matter what kind of person I am, what I am is your son, and that comes first. In the end, we agreed to stay in contact. I won't be visiting just yet. And although it couldn't erase the pain of the past, it was a first step toward healing. I've been feeling happy since that phone call. We communicate frequently, and slowly, our conversations are starting to feel like they used to. Maybe I'll visit them someday, but I'm not sure when or how it will happen yet. I'm still thinking about it. Actually, I did visit them about a week ago. The meeting with my parents went well, but I haven't seen the rest of my family yet. We're choosing to take things slowly and letting them unfold naturally. Surprisingly, the visit went much better than I expected. Despite my initial hesitation, I felt a certain relief seeing them. Maybe it was a sign that my life was slowly getting back to normal. The conversation we had was intense. Though it was hard to address certain painful aspects of the past, I felt the need to express how their actions affected me. There were even moments where my mom teared up, but she acknowledged that she couldn't change the past and expressed optimism about the future. The idea of spending Christmas at home and reuniting with the rest of the family came up, but I explained my preference to move forward cautiously. I'm still dealing with internal conflicts, but the hatred is slowly fading. I feel lighter, free from the burden I carried for so long. Delicate conversations were followed by cautious meetings. Awkward hugs were replaced by shared tears and genuine laughter. And as the wounds of the past began to heal, I found a new purpose in my life. On top of that, I've started dating someone special. We're taking things slowly, but I'm excited about what the future holds. For the first time in a long time, I feel like things are getting better. Now, I look forward, ready to embrace whatever the future holds, knowing that with patience and determination, healing is possible, even after a decade of pain.
Want more mysteries, twists, and exciting moments? So you can't miss this video. Click now and continue this journey of fascinating stories. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any news. Leave your comments and see you next time.